Hey everyone, just some quick news before the episode gets going. This could potentially be the last video on YouTube for a little while. We want to make sure we're getting the best quality stuff out there, and we just feel that we're not ready to be putting this onto YouTube and just taking a lot of time, and we want to make sure the audio of all things is the most important and worked on the most. So just a little heads up, if you want us to continue posting on YouTube too, let us know. More than likely, if we were to continue, it would just be one background through the whole thing. Let us know what you want. We'll do our best to give everyone what not only they feel is the best, but we feel is the best. And yeah, so.
What is going on, everybody? This is Audible Sports Kids.
How's it going, everybody? Brett and Jeff here. How's it going, Brett?
Good.
Good. We got a lot to talk about today. Final Four, it's finally here. Everyone keeps saying it's different team, or it's the same teams every time. But hey, it's either the third or fourth straight year that there's a different set of four. So that'll be some fun stuff to talk about. We got some NFL news, some big trades happened since last we talked, some big signings. There's still a lot of free agents out there, but a couple of guys have gotten off the block now since we've last talked.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys out there still.
Oh yeah, definitely. And not to mention there's some just future NFL news that I think we should talk about a little bit. So let's just get straight into it. Detroit Lions. Yes, I called them Hard Knocks, one of the the big HBO show the NFL does or has, and they're gonna be the team that the HBO follows this year for Hard Knocks. And Hard Knocks is always kind of a fun thing, gives you kind of the inside scoop of kind of what some of these NFL teams, management, players are going through. So it's always a fun little thing to watch. And Detroit's one of those teams that seems like it could be fun. They got pretty fun coach over there. They got some just question marks even going into the draft. So it'd be cool to see how they'll look. There's a lot of people are saying they might go and draft Malik Willis, Aiden Hutchinson. So Malik Willis has looked like the kind of guy that I've seen a lot, especially in a lot of mocks. But hey, none of us are GMs, so we don't know what necessarily might happen. So it'd be fun. But also, speaking of the draft, the 2024 draft is going to be hosted in Detroit, and I think that's pretty cool. A lot of time, we saw it in Cleveland recently, but for the most part, it's kind of in these kind of big city places.
It's just there for the sports book. No, I'm just kidding.
We for the longest time we saw it in New York, we saw it in Chicago, Philly. So I think it's pretty cool to see it in Detroit. Get a little Motown Detroit into it. So it'll be fun. I try to kind of spin on Detroit as much as I can, but it is a really cool city. It's got a lot of history, a lot of sports history, whether it's for winning or losing. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's nice to see it in as many cities as possible, the same one over and over and over again.
Oh yeah, that's kind of what we're now seeing too with the Combine. Is now the Combine's becoming a little less attractable thing here in Indiana. So it'll be cool maybe to see it go somewhere else. Yeah, Indianapolis is, I feel like, such a great place to host something like the Combine. But it'll be cool to see it elsewhere and to see maybe a place like Vegas or even Dallas get a hold of it and to make it this cool thing. And that's kind of, even with the draft too, you get these different places and it just makes it, cool little thing where it's not one kind. You're getting the whole kind of U.S. picture, to say the least.
Yeah, that's like saying they're going to hold the draft in Green Bay. but that's impossible. So they don't have the infrastructure for
I
it.
mean, you never know. Hey, put the draft in the stadium and have the guys walk out onto the stadium. That's a way. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that happen here in the future, potentially
It'd be
with.
pretty cold in Lambeau.
I mean, late April, you never know. Might be a little rainy. Midwest April showers bring May flowers, but hey, that's the risk you have to take no matter what kind of outdoor event you're having, whether it's a draft, a wedding, no matter what it is. I mean, it was raining a lot in Cleveland too, so it just depends. I would say they maybe could push the draft later, but those OTAs and off-season training camps and everything, you can't really push it back. Unless they want to do what baseball does and have it in season or whatever. I don't even understand the MLB draft. It's so just weird. But I don't know, Detroit. It's good for them to do stuff for the fans. The fans deserve something over there with kind of how
they're trying to include Canada too. I think since Canada's so close to Detroit.
Oh yeah, not to mention just the NFL in general has been trying to do a lot for a global kind of acknowledgement. They added today that they added this offseason how there will be like certain countries or locations in countries have like their own NFL teams and like different kind of spirit type stuff there, and they are going to be playing team or games in like Germany, added more games in London. So it's just that
I heard they were going to India now too.
I don't know about that one.
No, I just made that. Just kidding.
And, there is still a push for an NFL team based in either Canada or even London. I don't know how the schematics will work with that, but hey, it'd be pretty cool. So we'll see. Everyone's got to keep their eyes on the future for, international stuff. And hopefully with them moving stuff around like the combine and the draft, that maybe pretty soon here they'll move something like the draft or even the combine out overseas. Maybe not so much because it is kind of messing with players who have yet to be under contract with NFL and how like that stuff works. But we also saw with COVID how so many of those things could also be put elsewhere. We saw a big push for pro days. We saw big like home parties for drafts. So who knows? We're definitely kind of in that middle ground for an age where we're going to see a lot of this transition of kind of the draft and the combine and different things like that move to be maybe even less in person. We're seeing that even with businesses, and the NFL is one of the biggest businesses in America. So,
yeah, it definitely is.
We'll have to see. But speaking of some other NFL news, we talked a lot last time about some winners and losers of the off season at that point, and a team we didn't really talk about because they hadn't done much at that point was the Miami Dolphins, and I think they must have watched the video because they seem to have done a little bit extra since we've last talked. I think literally the day that that last recording was posted, they went out and signed Teron Armstead to a massive 5-year deal, and everyone talks about how bad that offensive line is, and they needed the help, and they went out and got what a lot of people call one of the best left tackles in football to help Tua. And while he is a left-handed quarterback, and you go into a debate that maybe a right tackle is more important because the Blind Side. If you ever watch that movie, they explain it pretty well. So I'm just going to shout out Blind Side in that movie so you can understand more of what I mean by a Blind Side. But still, getting a guy like Teron Armstead is massive for them. He's a very athletic offensive lineman. People probably forget, and their head coach Mike McDaniel, who was with the 49ers last year, and they even moved a guy like Teron Williams around, and sub and.
You mean play fullback?
Yeah, he played a little bit of fullback, kind of like a swing tight end. So getting another athletic guy like Teron Armstead to be able to do stuff like that, I think is a pretty big accomplishment for them. Yeah, a lot of people are saying he hasn't played, a full season like ever. So, yeah, you kind of have to put that into consideration, but maybe a, new place. Yeah, New Orleans was a really good place, but, things can always change. Yes, I think it's a very good thing for them because that offensive line was so bad, and if you want to help a guy like Tua succeed, you got to get him the pieces to succeed. And speaking of pieces to succeed, when you have a young quarterback like they do in Tua Tagovailoa, You want to get him a very good receiver. Yeah, they went out and drafted Jalen Waddle last year, very quick, speedy guy. And they must have said, hey, let's go get another quick and speedy guy. Because Tyreek Hill, who was potentially on the trading block for maybe only a couple hours, was traded to Miami for a massive load of picks. I think it was 5 or 6 picks that they traded for him. And now Tyreek Hill, not only the fastest player in the league, but a very good wide receiver.
One of the highest paid wide receivers in the league.
Oh, yeah, they gave him a new contract, too, to make him one of the highest paid wide receivers. He's now a Miami Dolphin. So they went out and splashed pretty big this offseason since we talked. And I like the moves. A lot of people are saying that they're kind of overspending to not even, potentially make the playoffs. But I think they potentially can. They've had 2 really, they went, and they had started really bad, then ended up finishing good but not good enough last year, and kind of the same the year prior, kind of a little bit different. But they're doing the right things. They got some of the good pieces. And I can see the Dolphins making some big
Well, all
moves.
the pressure's on Tua now.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, they do these things for Tua, but at the same time, that does put a lot more pressure on him to succeed. Yes, he's a winner.
Doesn't mean that he is a winner at this level.
No, it doesn't. But now
he's still. I mean, every quarterback's got to do what he's got to do now.
And exactly. And there's really no excuses left for this year. At least what they went out and got. They even went out and got themselves a nice little running back in Raheem Mostert too, who is supposed to play this year if he gets healthy, and he's had some injury problems, but they went out and got some really nice speed, and it'll be fun to kind of see the Dolphins play. The only problem is this might be one of the most stacked years of any conference I've ever seen. When you kind of look at some of these teams, a whole division seems at this point at least worthy of making it to the playoffs. So it's going to be very tough.
Hold on. No. I beg to differ on that one.
You beg to differ? So
the Jets.
I'm not saying that division. I'm saying there's a handful of divisions in the AFC.
Okay, you made it seem like you were talking about that division. My bad.
No. That division. I mean, that division. 3 of those 4 teams you could argue could make the playoffs.
3, yes.
You do have faith in the Dolphins,
unless Joe Flacco has a comeback year.
Well, they're missing a lot more than just a quarterback on that team. Well, yes, they have a young guy in Zach Wilson, but there's a lot of question marks even with him and how much growth he can have in his second year.
I don't even think he can butt fumble. That's where my...
Well, only the great Mark Sanchez could ever butt fumble. But, I mean, when you look at some of these other teams, there's going to be a hard road to get to the playoffs, like there is every year, but I feel like this year especially, you're going to have a lot of these teams just fight and dominate, and it's going to, like it does every year, come down to the nitty-gritty and, what team can stay healthy. And when you have a team like the Dolphins that hasn't, been kind of relevant the last couple of years, can they make a push to make it into the playoffs? And maybe
they were, last year, what did they go, 7-9 or 7-10?
They went, I believe, 8-8.
No, it has to be 9-8 or...
Oh yeah, that's right. I think they went 8-9 or something. They were
something like that. Yeah.
They started off horribly, then ended up, winning their last 8 straight. They're the only or their last 7. They're the only team to have they won at least 8 games and 8 losses, so they must have went 9-8 because they're the only team in NFL history to have an 8-game winning streak and an 8-game losing streak in the same season. But without that, they still did not make the playoffs. So they went out and made some big splashes. But what is it going to be enough? That's the question. And I don't know. It's a tough AFC this year, and I just don't know who can make it at this point. I'm not for sure really any. Okay, obviously a handful of teams. I think maybe Buffalo, but I think Buffalo might be the only one I'm saying for sure can make the playoffs at this point.
Yeah.
From the AFC, and I'm not even for sure on them now with this Miami situation. So it's going to be interesting to see how the AFC goes, especially now with these Dolphin moves, and we still have a whole draft to go. and we're talking about, potential playoff contenders. I think we're definitely maybe talking a little too early because there is still so much that can happen and change. I mean, we've seen how many crazy trades occur this offseason, and everyone's saying there's going to bound to be more to happen. So
Yeah, anything's possible.
anything is possible. I mean, look at what was happening in basketball. We had St. Peter's, who I kept calling St. Petersburg last time, and I feel horrible for that. But that just helps to show how anything is possible. A 15 seed making it into the Sweet 16, first time ever, just shows anything is possible. So, hey, maybe we should.
It only works in a tournament format, though. If it was like a series against some of these teams, I don't.
Well,
obviously, the outcomes would be different.
NFL isn't a series.
No, I know. I was just kind of saying that, though.
That's true. That's true. And that's why a lot of times we do see the better team in the NBA or even baseball, it being quote unquote the better team winning. But that's what makes the NCAA tournament so fun. And like we said last time, our little slogan that we say every single time, any given Sunday, works so well even with the March Madness tourney. So yep. I think this is a good time we can talk about the tournament a little bit. Final Four, it's finally here. We have what you can argue the 4 best teams, but like I said, or like we talked about here a second ago, it's not always like that. But we have the 4 teams, and one of these 4 teams are going to be crowned the top basketball team in college basketball for the men's side, of course. The women's tournament's going on too. We talked a little bit about that. And they have some exciting games in there too, but nothing compares to the college men's basketball tournament. It's so crazy. There's a reason why the entire month of March is called March Madness, just because how mad it is. So let's talk a little bit about these final 4 teams. We have Villanova. They're going to be playing Kansas, and North Carolina playing Duke. The old rivalry. Fine. This is actually the first time North Carolina and Duke.
If you think about it, though, these are 4 staples in college basketball.
That's true. And
there isn't that fluky team in there, like a St. Peter's / St. Petersburg, as you would say. These are all established collegiate basketball powerhouses, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, definitely. And or at least within the last, 15 years or so, definitely. Oh, I mean, a lot of these teams for the last 50 years.
Yeah.
But it's interesting when looking at these 4 teams and everyone's like, oh, yeah, same teams every year. And while these are, what people call powerhouses. And
yeah, they might be. There are 4 teams that were in the top 25 ranking. That's all.
Yeah, but even looking at kind of what people say it's the same teams every year, the last 3 or 4 years, like I said earlier, it's been different teams. So I think that's pretty cool that while, we're still getting same-ish type teams in that top spots, that just shows how many powerhouses there are even in college basketball. So, yeah, we have our Dukes, our North Carolinas, but, there's also Texas Tech, who's been really good as of, the last couple of years. Baylor, who's been really good. There's so many good teams in college basketball that it almost mirrors an opposite to professional basketball and how there's so many top-heavy teams of the last several years. So I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the tournament's interesting every year.
Oh, definitely. It's never a shy moment in college basketball when it gets to March. There's never the upsets, the buzzer beaters. I mean, then again, it feels like there hasn't been that many buzzer beaters in the tournament this year. There's still been a handful, but there's still fun games that go to the very end, and that's why it's so fun. You get to those last 30 seconds or so when they take 20 minutes sometimes. That's what makes it fun. It feels like you're just watching an overtime game. You feel like you're getting extra playing time, but it's really just teams keep fouling and timeouts and strategy, and it's fun. It's fun to watch no matter what. So let's talk about these 4 teams. Let's look at both these games, and let's start with the old rivalry. The first time these 2 teams are ever playing in the tournament, surprisingly. No matter, even though they play so much, in season, the tournament, their own conference tournament, but never in the March Madness tournament. We have North Carolina playing Duke. Two teams I'm pretty sure we both predicted to be in this spot. Actually,
me.
No, I did not. I think I picked Gonzaga to be in this spot over Duke.
I didn't have Duke going this far either.
You didn't in your bracket, but last week when we in our predictions,
I did
you
pick
have
that.
Duke
Yes,
going to the Final Four. I didn't. I had Gonzaga, but they couldn't. So here's a question for you. Duke, obviously, Coach K. It's final year.
I have to root for Duke. That's before you even get any further.
Do you think they can win it this year in Coach K's final year?
I hope, not think. This is a hope and a prayer. We'll say. I hope they win it for him. That'd be pretty. He is the greatest coach in basketball history. So college. He holds the record. So.
I mean, there's a couple.
You could say Dean Smith.
Big guys.
You could say
Mike Woodson.
But it's Coach K.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You don't see someone, especially in today's world. I mean, maybe a little bit with Popovich in the NBA, but you don't see a guy just so well liked and kind of adored by his a team like North Carolina, obviously. The students and the fans want to root against him, but they still admire Coach K. And I think that's what makes a good coach. And he's been there for so long.
Yep.
The fact that it's finally kind of coming to an end, and could it potentially come down to the hands of a rival, I think is amazing.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, I have to go Duke, but like I said.
Yeah, I do too. I just it almost seems scripted with him, them making it, all the way, but at the same time, it's a good team. North Carolina's a really good team too. We kind of saw that with their games, especially St. Peter's, just doing something that no other team, some really good teams too. When you think of Purdue or Kentucky or even Murray State, that they just couldn't somehow. Get this small little St. Peter's team away. And that's, like we talked about any given Sunday, but yeah, it's hard not to root for Duke. It's not hard to, it's very hard to pick against Duke. So I gotta go Duke. But next up, the second half of the Final Four, we have two other teams that, powerhouses, well-rounded teams. We have Villanova playing against Kansas Jayhawks. Two teams that a lot of people obviously predicted them to get here, but a lot of people predicted, all these teams to be here. Maybe not so much I've seen a lot of brackets busted because of Gonzaga, but how do you see this one going? Obviously, it's very, very unfortunate for Villanova. They lost Justin Moore. He kind of ruptured his Achilles at the final seconds of the game last weekend. So it's unfortunate they'll be playing without a very, very key player. But
just for that fact, there I'm going to go Kansas just because they're a little bit healthier.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's hard for me not to go with Villanova for the simple fact that they're, my bracket prediction, and I don't want to sway away from that. For the same fact that bracket...
But that could screw you.
That could screw me. But at the same time, I'm not losing anything for sticking with Villanova, am I? Just pride.
No.
And who doesn't like anything more than pride?
And intelligence.
Yeah, exactly. Not saying I'm that smart of a cookie, but hey, I will take it. I got to stick with Villanova. Even with kind of the loss, they have a really good team. They have, amazing coach. We talk about some of the great coaches. And when you look at kind of the team that Jay Wright has been, put together, and what we talk about great coaches, Jay Wright has to be, up there for some of the best coaches, of all time, especially in college basketball. So it's hard for me to still be against this Villanova team, and I'm just gonna stick with them. I'm gonna stick with them through it all, and hopefully, I not only get a prediction right here, but a correct bracket winner. At least in the sense of I picked the right team that wins it. There's a lot that wasn't right about my bracket, just like so many others. But that's the fun of it. Challenging friends to see who can have the better bracket, or classmates, or coworkers, or...
But do you think it takes talent or luck?
I think it takes a mixture of talent and luck. Mostly luck. Because sometimes, you can write down randomness and have a better bracket. Or someone who looks at all the analytics could have a potentially better bracket. There's no right or wrong answer. Like we say, any given Sunday, any team could win. It's not like a, NBA or MLB. There's a, series of wins or anything like that. So in theory, anything can happen. So I think it's so much more luck, so much, especially with a game like basketball with, who's shooting better tonight. At least with, the NBA, you can have a rough night and come back the next game in the series and shoot a lot better. So it's different, and that's just what makes it magical.
Do you want the NBA to go to that format?
No, and they definitely won't when you look at how much money they get from like game 7s and whatnot.
I know. I'm just saying, because they're talking about football possibly doing that.
That would be interesting, and I don't think the NFLPA would ever approve of that for the fact that they already are there's such a big case.
The tournament would be a lot longer because of the spacing.
And then you'd have to rewrite everything and think of when, how soon between the Super Bowl and free agency starts. It seems like, that month is a long time, but it's not really. And then, how many games a series? You're going to do 3 games a series, So I don't know if it's necessarily worth it. Yeah, they'd be getting a lot more money, but, a lot more injuries, a lot more everything. And the NFLPA, didn't want there to even be that, extra game added to the regular season that they added. So I doubt they could even get this approved.
That's true.
But it would be fun to see like a game 3 or a game, even 7 of a Super Bowl. That would be amazing. But that could never happen. Only in Madden could something like that probably ever happen. So, hey, get your Madden groove on. Get some Game 7s in there.
If they had the time frame, a bracket would work for the NFL.
It could, but at the same time, how big of a bracket? Do you shorten the amount of playoff teams that go in so you have less, and then that complains, we just added more. It just doesn't...
It should be the top half of the league, so 49%, 50%.
So 16 teams get
They
it.
all make it.
So then how many...
Because you could have the number 1 seed lose to and like you said, any given Sunday. It's just like tournament. It'd be cool.
Oh, so you're going more bracket style. I thought you were wanting like best of 3 situations. Okay.
No, I'm talking but they still would need at least 5 to 6 days between games. So that's why it would be spread out very.
I mean, they kind of do that already.
Think about that.
They limit how many. I mean, that's kind of how it runs anyway now.
Yeah, I know, but it would be just different with 16 teams.
It's also a little bit different in the sense that it is more division based. Like you have your division winners, and then so it's not necessarily because you can have second team in a division be that wild card spot, but they have maybe the second best record in the entire conference. So it is a little different, but at the same time, it's kind of the same as we see in these brackets.
You couldn't do a series in football. No,
that's why I was kind of saying what I thought, because I thought...
What about NBA doing it in a bracket?
I mean, kind of like what I said earlier, a lot of these things come down to money, and I don't think they would get rid of, especially with baseball.
That's why I didn't even bring up the World Series. I didn't even, or
baseball gets all their money from October.
They would lose too much money, and they're really going to be relying on it this year.
Oh, definitely. But hey, baseball. Speaking of baseball, we're getting very, very close to the start of the opening day, so we might have to talk some baseball here coming up. And show everyone how much we don't know about baseball. I hope that day never comes.
That's true.
But that's all we got for you today. Make sure, depending on what you're watching on YouTube or any of these podcasts, you like, comment, rate, review, whatever it is. Whatever it tells you to do, go and do it. If you like it, tell us how good we are.
If you think our audio sounds better, comment it.
Oh yeah, let us know how let us know a little bit of everything. Let us know how your day's going. I want to hear about how your day's going. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know a little bit of everything, and have little conversations. No matter where it is, whether it's in our DMs, those are linked below. All our social medias will be linked below. Whether it's on whatever platform you listen on, YouTube comments or reviews on the podcast, whatever it is, do it and just do it. Like the great Nike once said, just do it. But that's all we got for you. Have a good day, whatever time of the day you're listening to this. Have a good weekend and just have a good life, everybody. I'll see you later.
Later.